everyone. This is Maheen, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are exploring the modernization of one of Canada's most essential industries. Because in 2026, the sleepy reputation of the insurance sector is officially a thing of the past as AI-driven platforms transform complex workflows into streamlined business results. Joining us is Jeff Barsalou. He's a co-founder and chief revenue officer of QuickFacts. An MBA and a customer-first strategist, Jeff has scaled QuickFacts from a visionary idea into a national Insurtech leader with near zero customer churn. Whether he is competing internationally on the ultimate frisbee field or architecting multi-million-dollar growth strategies, Jeff is a master at breaking down tech-heavy concepts into actionable business wins. So without further ado, let's dive in and welcome Jeff. Jeff, it's a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for joining. How are you?
Thank you, Maheen. It's fantastic. Yeah, thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. Looking forward to the conversation.
Of course. Now, Jeff, you've been at the forefront of the Insurtech movement, and it feels like the industry is finally tackling some long-standing difficulties. Tell us, what challenges do Canadian brokers face, and how is technology transforming the industry?
Yeah, so the insurance industry has stayed fairly stagnant for some time. There's always been insurtechs kind of coming in, trying to disrupt and make changes and improve the lives of brokers, carriers, agents for quite some time. Especially here in Canada, it's been a little bit slow to adopt. So when we first came into the market in 2020, we started seeing some of those insurtech players kind of come into the forefront with more AI type solutions. And that's just been over the past few years starting to drive some real change here. So adoption and the need for insurtech products has been increasing, and the appetite is growing stronger and stronger for them once they start seeing the efficiencies gain. So the insurance landscape is just dominated by unstructured data and a ton of double entry and additional work needed, especially on the broker side of things. So it becomes very repetitive. And what happens is it's just using somebody's time. So somebody's time is just focused on entering that information multiple times, doing a bunch of research before getting back to a client. So you're finding that before some of these tech innovations, the industry was moving rather slow, whether it was from a lead perspective or a customer service perspective or a sales perspective. A lot of this was moving fairly slow. So the industry now has been going through that change where they're realizing that some of this can be expedited and run through different processes, different insurtechs.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was a great starting point. And it tells us a lot about the state of the Canadian insurance. I mean, centralizing this nervous system of insurance knowledge seems to be the only way for brokers to really keep up with the increasing complexity of modern underwriting. Now, Jeff, let's explore how AI is reshaping modern B2B sales. Please tell us, how is AI changing B2B sales, and how can leaders adapt?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think AI has been really helping those in B2B sales that are adapting in the proper way. So a couple of things that it's doing. So it's enabling you to reach out to many more people in a much faster capacity. So you're able to create tailored messages specific to individuals en masse and get that sent out, which is good and bad. So on the bad side of things, now you've just got a bunch of spam emails coming in that are a little bit more tailored to you than they used to be. It used to be really easy to pick them out. They used to be very generic or not talking specifically to your industry. Now it's kind of more specific, tailored. So it does get into there, but you still get some spammy type of communication. But what good sales teams will do is they'll take that efficiency that you can gain by gathering knowledge online and buyer's intent, creating and crafting messages, and being able to put a tailored message together and then have a human QA and put in some additional kind of content in there to make it more human and increase the likelihood of that hitting the inbox. And now you can do that rather than starting and crafting a message from scratch. You used to have to go and do a bit of research on the company, understand who the key players were, make sure they fit your ICP, and then you'd send out some emails. So you're really speeding up that process. We're able to do it at a much faster scale than we used to be, but we're also still doing it with intent. So not just mass emailing for scale, especially for us. At QuickFacts, we're in a fairly niche vertical, so we're in the insurance brokerage space. So there's only a limited amount of potential customers out there. So if we were to go and blast out, we could probably email all 1,600 potential brokerages out there in Canada within a day or two, but the impact wouldn't be very strong. And the problem is, once that starts being seen as spam, it's hard to kind of get back into the conversation with them again. But it's certainly helping in that aspect. And then, of course, even going through the proposal, the quoting aspect, a lot of it is automated. And we've even automated some of our sales and customer service handoff tools as well, that just makes it so much more seamless and allows our sales team to focus more on the clients and what the clients' needs are. So I think sales teams in general should be taking advantage of the tools out there. We are a Google-based company, so we're using Gemini. We've got the Google Studio workspace that we're using. We also been more and more into Claude Cowork, which has been a fantastic tool too. And there's many more lead specific AIs out there that we haven't dove into completely, but I know that they've got some benefits and advantages there as well. So it's certainly ramped up the tools and the way to reach out. And on the flip side, it's just also creating a lot of noise in people's inboxes. So you have to be very intentional with what you're creating, and you've got to make it really stick home because they will just spam you and delete you very quickly otherwise.
Right. Well, this gives us a clearer picture into the B2B sales in the advent of AI, and using AI to handle the data heavy research. It really allows sales teams to return to what they do best, which is building that authentic relationship and really, be solving problems. Next up, let's look
Absolutely.
at building growth through strong customer trust. Tell us, why is customer trust so critical for growth, and how do you maintain it at scale?
Yeah, I mean, any good sales leader knows that maintaining and keeping a customer is much more efficient than getting a new customer. So you certainly don't want to lose customers that are, that are beneficial to your company. There's obviously some that sometimes you want to. That are more hassle than they're worth. So sometimes that feels like something you might want to offload. But most of the time, you want to keep customers on, and trust is, in my opinion, the single greatest way to do that. And because it does go from it goes across all departments and everywhere that they will touch and interact with you and your product. So you've got to make sure that that is a unified front for your company. So for us, it starts with the sales team. Very adamant that sales is only selling what is actually possible and not selling really into the future or overblowing different product features and realities. So we show customers exactly what it is they're going to get, tell them exactly what it is. So when they do get handed off to that customer success onboarding, there are no surprises, degrading trust right away. One of the things we actually were at a trade show couple weeks ago, and one of the things we heard on multiple occasions, actually, from multiple customers, and got a few shout outs for it, was that we are one of the only Insurtechs that they've dealt with that said exactly what we do and told them exactly what we don't do, and was upfront about how our software works, and that it is exactly as advertised, which is really
Hmm.
great to hear. Really great to hear, because you're starting off the right foot immediately once they realize that they didn't get swindled, they didn't get the wool covered over their eyes in the sales process, and there's not features there that they thought they could do but they can't. So we try and be as very clear as possible there. Once they get there and get into a product, and assuming it's a good product, in which at QuickFacts, we're pretty proud of what we built here. Once they get into it, as long as they've got their expectations set and you're meeting their expectations, they're not going to be upset. Things work as planned. You're starting off on a great foot with trust already built, and so those first few months, instead of them getting frustrated at the few features that maybe you said you did, or things that you said you could do and actually don't do at all, they're really just focusing on what it is that's possible. They're happy with what the experience is, and usually they're finding different features that you might not have highlighted that they're like, oh, this is actually a nice benefit. So What we've found here at QuickFacts, as I mentioned before, we have very, very little churn, less than 2% annual, which is pretty significant for a B2B SaaS company, especially one our size. We've got about 250 customers and growing. Brokerage customers, I should say, and about 7,000 users on the site. And we have so little churn just because one component is we built a really great product that actually meets what brokers have been looking for many years. They've actually tried to build it themselves. And secondly, we are just very open, transparent. We love feedback. We'll say this ad nauseum. We say we really want you to tell us what's going well, what's going wrong, and what you think could make us better. We've got a feedback box right in the main page there where anybody can at will just send us any kind of piece of feedback that they'd like to have. We've got a live chat that interacts directly with one of our team. They can go ahead and ask questions, gain some support there, but they're also welcome to provide any suggestions or feedback there. It gets into loop, and when we do maybe publish a feature that somebody's been requesting, we do take note of all the people that are asking for those features and all those changes, so that when that feature does go live, we actually email them and say, thank you for your input. The feature is now live. Here's a link to it. We'll also shout them out whenever we do feature announcements to all of our user base too, so they get a little bit of recognition. So I just think trust is at the foundation for everything that you build, not just customer facing, but also internally too. So when you're building your teams, trust has to be there. As soon as the foundation starts to get some cracks in it, and I think lack of trust is some pretty big red flags for most people. You're going to start bleeding customers, bleeding team, good talent. So making sure that that's shored up and it's one of your pillars, your foundational pillars, you're going to have a pretty successful time as long as you've got a good product and a good team on your shoulders.
Right. That is a great overview in terms of understanding, helping us understand and maintaining a customer first hustle. And it really ensures that your technology remains a tool for service rather than just another piece of software. Now, Jeff, let's explore simplifying complex workflows in insurance. Please tell us, how does commercial lines help simplify complex insurance workflows?
Yeah, so we launched commercial lines about a year ago. So just quickly overview QuickFacts product. What we do is we aggregate all the underwriting information from all the insurance carriers that a insurance brokerage would do business with. We then pull that into relevant coverage comparisons and show what the appetites are for all of those carriers. So that's common for any brokerage that you're going to go to shop for new insurance. And so what happens is that process makes it really simple. What they used to do is they used to have to go into an insurance carrier's portal, sift through many, many pages, find the proper document, then find the information within the document. Or maybe it lives in 4 different documents and they have to piece that together themselves to get the appetite that the insurance carrier is after, to see if that is a match for what the customer is asking for. And then they replicate that across all the carriers that they do business with. Now, insurance brokerages deal with many different carriers. That is the benefit of a broker. You're going to get a lot of diversity, which ideally leads you to the best possible coverage and rate for your specific need. So they're looking through all this, trying to find the best coverage. So they're multiplying that process 10, 20, 30 times over to try and get you the best coverage. And that's a long, long, arduous process. And so what QuickFacts does, we put them into these comparison charts and centralize all of their document and information from each carrier so that they can easily see what they will accept, what they won't accept, and all of the supporting documentation. So as you can imagine, if you've got an insurance broker that's talking to a builder that's trying to get a commercial building insured, that's a long process for them to understand what is required from the insurance perspective, what needs to be done, and then what the appetites are for their carriers. So this way, they're able to all see it in one spot. It's able to reduce the amount of different web pages that they're going to, portals that they're linking into, documents that they're viewing, and simplifying it in one section here. And so it's just saving it a lot of time. They're able to deal with more customers, service more customers, sell more for their brokerage, and provide more accurate information As well, people don't really sell what they don't know. So, as a salesperson for many years, it's hard to really sell something that you don't fully understand yourself. So, when you're dealing with 30 carriers, you're trying to piece together this information. It's a lot. So, if maybe you're really comfortable with five, you might just stick with those five and say, "I'm not sure about the other ones, but that's okay. I'll just bank it on these five." And what's also happening in the insurance industry is because data is becoming even more readily available, the insurance carriers are altering their information and their appetite even faster. So that information's being updated on a regular basis. And so it's much riskier for brokers to use outdated information, which can cause some problems in their workflows. Um, yeah, and then what QuickFacts, has been doing as well, and we've got this in beta now, is we're able to take all of that underwriting data, and now you're able to actually start having a conversation with it. So we've got our conversational AI bot Quinn at work, so anybody can jump in and ask it any specific question to all of their carriers and all the documentation, and it'll tailor specific comparisons for that and uncover information for them. So still baiting that with some customers across Canada, and we're really excited by the results of that and looking forward to the full launch.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Mm.
thank you for being so detailed and thorough, Jeff, and walking us through, how do we really streamline complex workflows? And you're right. I mean, providing a single accessible hub for even the most difficult lines of business is what allows a brokerage to deliver a truly elite client experience. Finally, let's look at leading with shared vision in entrepreneurship. Please tell us, how has building QuickFacts as a family-led business shaped its growth and vision?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started QuickFacts with my co-founder Christy, who is also my wife. So some people think we're a little crazy for being husband and wife owning a company, but we certainly wouldn't have it any other way. So we both had some entrepreneurial spirits. She's had this idea. This QuickFacts was entirely her idea when she was working with her brokerage. She found that her time was being split, and she wasn't able to manage her team as effectively because she was constantly answering questions and trying to help them source data and information and walk them through processes. So she wanted to centralize all this and find an easy solution. So she was able to do that within her brokerage here in Atlantic, Canada. And from there, COVID hit, and what happened was she was hearing from all other brokerages because they talked quite a bit, and she was on the board for the provincial association. Um, she heard that this was a real problem amongst other brokerages, so she wanted to take this out and see if she could help other brokerages, and that's when we started chatting, and I understood that the problem that she had, and not everybody's got all the expertise. I certainly didn't know anything about insurance before jumping into QuickFacts, I'll be honest with you. But she needed somebody with the business expertise to be able to handle the financials, the business plan, the marketing and sales side of things. So that's where I jumped in and I helped her. We got it off the ground in late 2020 and started with some pilot customers, and then we just slowly built it up. We, as I mentioned before, we listened to what customers wanted, and we built a product that they really would really enjoy. On top of Christie's expertise, I was able to help out with some funding, early stage funding, getting that off the ground, helping with the early stage, the founder led sales, and that it's been a really fun journey. It's been certainly a roller coaster, as the entrepreneurship journey is. But we're really happy that even with this growth, so we've gone from the two of us and one part-time assistant, to now we're at 33 full-time employees, all of them within Canada, and we've made sure that that vision and that our passion is consistent with every hire as we go through. We've certainly done everything we can to keep that. And, we do many different things within the business that pulls through the passion and keeps it contagious, keeps the camaraderie going. Being a fully remote company certainly has its challenges when it comes to sharing the vision, keeping the vision going, but also building the culture. So we'd like a lot of touch points with our team, while also giving them the freedom to operate the way they do. But we do share a lot on a biweekly basis with our team, sharing what's coming up, what's going on, what each department is up to, and where the company is headed. We do quarterly vision meetings with our team as well, and we constantly keep them up to date with all activities so that they are fully aware of what's going on. And we like to have a lot of fun when we do it too. And of course, there's always one in person. As a remote company, you've got to have an in person event. So we've got ours coming up in August. Looking forward to pulling the team in. We are coast to coast, so we've got everybody from Nova Scotia to BC. Looking forward to pulling them all in. But just staying consistent, even when you're early stage, just keeping that consistent approach. Knowing your values and what values you want to instill within a company, and kind of staying strong and not budging on those values, even in times when people may question why you're doing things this way. And when it comes to the vision, you want to keep that consistent, but you also want to change that and adapt that with the realities of your company. So maintaining a strong vision that's not going to pull your team all over the place and not make them jump from A to B to C to D at the whim. Trying to maintain consistency while also flowing with the realities of the current market. I mean, with the AI shift and everything that is bringing into the industry and software, especially SaaS, the concerns that it kind of brings in, you want to be nimble, but as long as you've got a good vision and focus and your product is in the right spot, you can make those changes while not completely altering the DNA of your company. So we've been focusing pretty strongly on that.
Now, having a deeply aligned leadership team, it allows for a level of agility and trust that is really reflected in every milestone the company reaches. This was
Mm.
a great conversation. Thank you so much, Jeff, for really highlighting a lot, which is, the importance of entrepreneurship and shared vision. Now that we wrap up, what is that one key piece of advice for scaling a B2B tech solution in a traditional industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. This was a lot of fun too, by the way. But I would say the one thing is persistence. When it comes to that, sometimes traditional industries have been historically averse to change, but if you can show value at multiple levels, it will eventually happen. We had to go province to province and kind of roll it fairly slowly. Being between the carriers and the brokers, we had to gain access to both, and it was a bit of a chicken and the egg situation for us. So if you ever find you're kind of a middle software in between two different types of companies, then that's a bit of a juggling act, and it's not a fun one. But I think persistence and being able to listen to customers and prospects early on, make sure you're getting that really early stage feedback and adapting to that. I think that's really, really important. I think too many people try and validate their product a little too late in the process, whereas early on you want to get it out there. You do want to build it. You want to build it as quickly as you can, get feedback on it, iterate, and then start building it further out, rather than making the iterations years ahead, and when you've got a mountain of tech debt. So just get it in people's hands, get some feedback, and most of the times they'll be pretty appreciative to have somebody trying to make solutions that solve their needs.
Right. No, that is a great reminder that the best technology is always built on a foundation of real world industry needs. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us and for sharing such great expertise and your insights.
Thank you, Maheen. It was fantastic.
And listeners, that was Jeff from QuickFacts, a masterclass in Insurtech innovation, B2B sales strategy, and why trust remains the ultimate currency in 2026. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe by visiting our website, CanadianSME.ca. And to learn more about how we're supporting the ecosystem, visit our foundation page at smbfoundation.ca. Special shout out to UPS and ADP for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada. Please keep thriving, and we'll see you in the next one.